Well, hello and happy Sunday, you wonderful pet parent. Thank you so much for joining me today. I do see that we have a couple of people here already and that y'all have been waiting. So I would love to hear from you. Go ahead and post in the chat section. Let me know you're here. Let me know about you and your dog and any other pets you may have. If you have questions or comments already, go ahead and post them because we are live today. So I would love to answer any questions that you may have, whether it is about today's topic or not. Though, if you do have a question about today's topic, that would be wonderful also. So this morning we're talking about bored dogs. And if you know anything about if your dog is bored, then you will probably know that bored dogs often misbehave. So that's why it is one of the reasons why it is such an important topic to talk about. So let's get started. I've got my tea. I hope you do as well. I'm trying a new tea this morning to see if I like it. It's a triple ginseng. And I was really like, oh man, I really want that tea. And I went and grabbed it real quick before I went live. And now I had a day yesterday, guys. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm on the struggle bus this morning. I didn't get to bed until after 1 a.m. And let me tell you, first up, if you are a Patreon supporter, I didn't get your post up this morning yet. I'm still working on the bonus portion. So hang in there with me. I will get it to you later today. I don't want to send you something that isn't up to speed with what I normally send you. So yeah, hang in there with me. I'm going to get you all of the information that we're going to talk about today, as well as all of your bonus content. It'll just be a little bit later on. I know you normally get it before we go live, and I apologize about that. So yesterday was a day. Just so real quick before we get into the topic of 5 ways to engage your dog if you have a bored dog. We are going to talk about that in just a moment. I vlogged yesterday, and I actually enjoyed it. I have never really vlogged in that way before. It's actually for my second channel on YouTube. But with everything, we just had so much going on yesterday, and then of course things happen. You have a plan, and then things happen, right? I was getting off the interstate, and my tire pressure light came on saying that I had low tire pressure in one of my tires. So of course I started freaking out because there's a bunch of construction around us. So I'm like, oh no, do I have a nail in my tire? So I put air in my tire. I stopped and I pulled over. I put air in my tire. The light went away. I did check as much as I could of the tire. Of course, I couldn't get under the car to see on the other side of the tire. And I did pull the car up so that I could see kind of both, the top and then the bottom. I pulled around to the top so I could kind of see. I didn't notice a nail or anything else in the tire. It didn't even look low, though, the PSI was slightly low, barely. It was at 30, so I put it back up to 33. And anyway, so that happened. And then once I got home, I had decided to film another video for that channel. And so I filmed that video. Then what happened? I started writing my Patreon post, but I had to get ready. We had a very late dinner with some friends. Very late dinner. Anyway, so all in all, I didn't get into bed until after 1 this morning, which is completely not the norm for me. I am normally in bed at least by 11. At least by 11. And if I get to bed as late as 10:45, 11 o'clock, I'm I tend to fall asleep pretty darn quickly. So yeah, it was very, very late for me. And then I woke up this morning and I was taking care of the cats and found a dead scorpion between two of the plates that were down for the cats to eat last night because I fed them late, of course. So yeah, it was just, this morning I'm on the struggle bus, but I'm here. I am here, and I want to know why you're here. Let me know about you. Let me know about your dog. Post any comments or questions that you have in the chat. If you're watching a replay of this video, post it in the comments. YouTube does notify me on comments that I'm getting, so I can come back and answer them. So of course, yeah, whether you're watching this live or a replay, go ahead and post in the chat or in the comments, depending on which one you have. I would love to answer your questions, especially if we're here live. That's so much fun when I get to answer your questions live. So let's get into the topic of bored dogs and 5 ways to engage your dog's brain so that they are no longer bored. And one of the big reasons that this is so important is because bored dogs often become misbehaved dogs. Of course, you saw my little quotation fingers, right? Misbehaved dogs. That's because they're bored. They're looking for something to do to engage their mind. And because you're not providing it to them, they're having to seek it out. And they may be seeking it out in ways that you don't love. Yeah. Also, guys, yeah, I try not to talk about any like current events, political stuff, but I do have to say that I'm very, very saddened over the 13 Marines that we just lost over in Afghanistan. So I did want to just throw a shout out to them. I don't know. I just felt called to say that. So anyway, let's get moving on to 5 ways to keep your dog's mind engaged. So the very first one is going to be interactive toys and puzzles. Interactive is the key here. So there are toys and puzzles and different things that you can do to provide your dog that are like things that your dog can do on their own. Those have a time and a place. But this, number 1, interactive toys and puzzles, the interactive part is the key here. I'll tell you why in a second. I am enjoying this tea much more than I expected. Okay. Interactive options for toys and puzzles. We're talking about toys that you play with your dog. That's the interactive part. Tug toys, fetch toys, balls, throwing the ball for your dog, rope toys that you can play tug with, anything that you can play fetch with. Frisbees, for instance, are sort of like a fetch game, right? If you don't want to go out and buy something, or you don't have the means at the moment to go out and buy something, grab an old hand towel or towel out of your closet and let your dog grab one end of it and you grab the other and play tug with that. It doesn't have to cost you anything at all to play with your dog. Play with your dog. That is one of, and so interactive toys and puzzles is really like the first tip, but playing with your dog is really what it's all about. So find things that your dog really enjoys. And, again, there are food puzzles, which are wonderful, Kongs, which are wonderful, K-O-N-G, if you don't know those. There are some really, and Kongs and other food puzzles, snuffle mats, things like that, are listed in my Amazon storefront all the time. So if you are interested in researching any of those and looking up any of those, you can go to the link tree in the description of this or any of my videos. And on my link tree, you're going to get all the links, but one of them is to my Amazon storefront. So dog toys is one of the categories on my Amazon storefront, and you're going to be able to find all sorts of wonderful food puzzles and Kongs and just all the things. So, and when you do get these food puzzles and these food toys like Kongs, there are different things you can do with them. Of course, you can stuff them with their regular food. You can stuff them with higher value foods or even healthier foods. Yogurt, maybe. Bananas are a wonderful treat. Apples are a wonderful treat. Broccoli is one of the best treats. Blueberries, almond butter, canned pumpkin. It does have to be 100% pumpkin. Don't buy the pie filling, 100% pumpkin. And if you want to make them last longer and maybe a little bit less messy, you can actually freeze everything in them. I don't recommend doing this, giving them frozen food every single day, but as a treat every once in a while, I think it's wonderful. Just high level interactive toys are going to be wonderful to help keep your dog engaged. So another thing you can do along in the same line of food puzzles is to not feed your dog their meal all at once, but break it up throughout the day so that you can use one or multiple different puzzles throughout the day to keep your dog engaged longer, right? So it's not just all at one time. That's another great thing, little tip to do. And also to rotate the use, whether we're talking about food puzzles, whether we're talking about toys, rotate the use. And I haven't done this since we moved here. I'm actually getting ready to, I thought I was going to do it today, but I just don't have the energy. I'm going to probably have to do it next weekend, unless I can find some time this week, because I'm going to video my routine for cleaning around the house for my dog. So I'm going to go through her toys, and I'm going to stitch up any that needs stitched up. We're going to wash her toys. I'm going to wash all the linens and bedding, all of those wonderful, just my dog cleaning routine. Probably go ahead and bathe Kim as well. So just put it all into one big video. So that's when I do that, when I go through her toys, which I was doing before we moved about once a month, though you could definitely do this more often. When I go through her toys and figure out what needs to be cleaned, what needs to be washed, anything that needs to be stitched up, that kind of thing, I rotate them. So the toys that she uses a lot are the ones, of course, that are going to be the ones I need to clean. Those are gone because they're being cleaned, they're being stitched up, all the wonderful things. So all the toys that were on the bottom of the bin are now the top of the bin by default, and those are the toys she has to play with now. And when I put the toys that I clean back into her bin, they go on the bottom. So that's kind of how, one of the ways that I rotate her toys a little bit. Of course, she digs and she will find some of her favorite toys regardless of what I do. But you know what? That's her prerogative. She loves certain toys, and if she wants to go digging, which is an enrichment activity through her toys, to find the one she wants, more power to you, girl, right? So that's the first tip. And there was a lot packed into that first tip. Probably a lot more than I intended to include this morning, but it is what it is. The second one is going to be doggy play dates. Now, this isn't going to be for every single dog, but if you have a dog that does like other dogs, maybe your dog has friends, or your friends have dogs and they get along, or family has dogs and they get along. How wonderful. Arrange play dates and do it regularly. And you're going to get, a twofold here, right? You're going to get your dog, and their dog is going to get some fun and enrichment, and they're going to interact with another dog, which is incredibly important, especially if you have a single dog household. They're going to get that exercise and mental stimulation from playing. They're going to get an added layer of mental stimulation because they are having to navigate social cues from another dog, right? Especially if you have a single dog household. How wonderful is that? And then on top of all of that, you get enrichment in your life by hanging out with your friend or family member while your dog has this play date. Now, of course, you can arrange play dates where you drop your dog off or they drop their dog off, and that's, of course, that's a thing too. But isn't it wonderful when we can have a win-win? So yeah, just, of course, you always have to be careful. And when you have dogs, multiple dogs together, more than one dog at a time, you do have to always be on your game and paying attention to make sure that play doesn't turn into something more nefarious. But because that can happen sometimes, even with dogs who have loved each other forever, sometimes things happen. So you always have to be like at the top of your game and making sure you're paying attention and watching. And that's just a little, caveat that I do have to throw in there, because somebody's going to come back to me and say, I let my dog have a play date and I wasn't paying attention, but that shouldn't matter because you didn't say anything about it. Anyway, those things happen. Physical activity, which of course, right, we're talking about physical activity a lot, but actually exercising your dog. Now, if your dog is used to going on walks every single day, which I think most dogs probably are, that's wonderful. That's normal now for your dog. You've been doing it forever. So if we're talking about actually providing exercise for our dog, we're going to have to take it a little bit up, a level up, right? So getting in a really good play session with your dog every day is really important. Letting your dog sniff and use their nose. Oh my goodness. Of course, our dogs are using their nose every day, right? Like that's just a thing, just like we do. But dogs aren't really using their nose in the way that nature intended them to use their nose, because they're domesticated and they live in our house and we provide them food and they don't have to go hunt for it or scavenge for it, right? So they're not really using their nose the way it was designed to be used. So one of the easiest and best ways that we can provide this sniffing enrichment for our dog is when we take them for a walk, go by, a garden or a lake or anything around you and actually give your dog time to sniff and enjoy themselves. And if they catch on to a scent, let them follow it as long as it's safe, right? And you stay with them. So stay with your dog, pay attention to your dog, always, no matter what. Doesn't matter what I'm talking about, stay with your dog, pay attention to your dog. Like this should just be like, I don't know, maybe I should just have a scroll on the bottom of my YouTube 24/7, like always be with your dog and always pay attention to your dog and blah, all of these caveats that I always have to put in here that you would think are common sense, but common sense isn't very common. But anyway, I'm getting off topic because my brain isn't functioning well this morning. But a lot of times, a lot of people call them sniffaries. Sniffari, like a safari, but a sniffing safari. So, yeah. So letting your dog use their nose to do that is absolutely wonderful. And I actually if Kim gets on a scent, wonderful. Let's follow it as long as we're being safe. I love letting her do that. And it's one of the easiest and best ways we can provide additional enrichment to our dog's life every single day. But on that same topic of letting your dog sniff and smell things, we can actually do scent work in the house. So if it's terribly raining outside or you just don't have any nature that is easily accessible to you, which I'm sorry if that's the case, like I feel for you because I wouldn't want to live that way, but I understand that there are people that live that way, and some people actually choose to live that way, and that's wonderful. You do you. It's not the best for our dogs. It's just not. So anyway, you can actually do nose work in the house as well. So there are, I've talked about it before, and I think I have a Patreon post about it as well. If you're not already part of the family over on Patreon, I don't know why not. You are missing so much. Definitely check. It's the first link in the description of all of my videos, and also the second link in all of my videos, in the description of all of my videos, is to my link tree, so you can get it there as well. So if you just go to my link tree, you're going to get all the links. But yeah, you definitely need to be on Patreon, because we do a whole series on teaching your dog nose work, scent work, nose work. Those two terms are kind of interchangeable, but you can actually do it in your home, and it's wonderful for your dog. So there are lots of things that we can do with our dog to help them use their nose the way nature intended it. Games is the next thing we want to talk about. So games are wonderful, and one of the best things we can do with games is to tailor them to your dog and to what your dog likes. That's what it was. So on Patreon, we did a live video about it, and then I also did a Patreon post about it with extra content, because that's how I do a lot of times on Patreon, is you get extra bonus content that I don't put on YouTube. So we did a whole video and a Patreon post about all these different activities that you can do with your dog. So there are certain activities that certain breeds of dogs are bred to do. But then also, if you have a mixed breed dog, like figuring out what kinds of activities your dog might like best. So we talked about that. And then once you figure out what types of activities your dogs might like better, or what type of dog you have, then the activities that you can work with for your dog to help them get those natural instincts that they have going and directed in a positive way. So those are some of the best games that we can do with our dogs, whether we're talking about dogs that love to dig. So a lot of terriers, like my mom, she had, what kind of terrier? Lakeland Terrier. She had Lakeland Terriers, which are like almost little miniature, they weren't that miniature, but miniature Airedales, because Airedales are big. And these dogs were bred to actually dig, and they have long snouts to go down into foxholes to pull out a fox. Like, that's one of the things they were bred to do originally. So dogs like that like to dig. So creating a dig box in your backyard or side yard or wherever, you can actually bury some of their toys or, anything like that that your dog loves, and let them dig it up. Of course, always being safe, and paying attention to your dog and observing your dog when they are engaging in any of these games. So that's just one example. We've talked about that. I kind of explained what we talked about on YouTube before and on Patreon before. So these games are hide and seek. What a cute game to play with your dog, even inside the house. That would be wonderful. So playing games with your dog. Now, the last one, and the fifth tip, is just spending time with your dog. So dogs are pack animals. They are designed to live in a family unit. They are not designed to be left alone for long periods of time. So just hanging out with you, Netflix and chill on the couch in the evenings is wonderful for them. Of course, that always works best when they've had their exercise already throughout the day, both mental and physical exercise. But it's something that I do really want to highlight in this video, which, you know what, if you're watching this video, you're probably like, duh, Jessica, I spend a lot of time with my dog. But there are people that don't. And that really, really, really saddens me. There are a lot of people that don't. So spending time with your dog is the fifth tip. Now, of course, there are other tips, which is bonus content that only my Patreon family is going to get. So if you are not already following me, if you're not already part of the pack over on Patreon, make sure you go and join me. There are 4 different tiers to choose from, so you can pick the tier that is best for you. I don't currently see any new questions in the chat, but I do see that there are some people here. So if you do have any questions or comments, now is the time, because we've only got a couple more minutes left before I end today's live video. I want to say a huge thank you to all of you for being here, especially because you are just absolutely wonderful pet parents, and I know that because you are here watching this video, and I appreciate you. I do want to give a one last thing. Please check out the podcast, The Pet Parenting Reset, same name as this channel. yeah, the content that you're getting on the podcast is amazing. Thank you so much for all of you who are already following me over on the podcast, whichever podcast network you prefer. You can find it there, except for Apple. Apple doesn't have it up yet. I've been waiting. They don't have it up yet. But anyway, you can check it out on Spotify, Google, wherever else you get your podcast. Thank you guys so much for being here. I do hope you enjoyed this video. Please give it a thumbs up if you do. Also, if you are not subscribed, look down there at the subscribe button. If it's red, go ahead and click it and turn it gray. When that happens, a bell will appear. Click the bell, select all notifications. That way YouTube can notify you every time I go live. Guys, give your dog a big hug and kiss from me, your cats too, if they'll let you. I really appreciate you. Yes, I really appreciate you, and I can't wait to see you again live next Sunday. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend. Bye, guys.